responsible for climate change, and the other is making a disclaimer to that. So at this point, I want to call on this set of students to come and argue and prove their case, for us to have an insight as to whether indeed man is solely responsible for climate change or there are other factors. Mr. Masakoi, are you here with your debater?
Mr. Chairman, Board Governor, members of the High Table, parents, teachers, pupils, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, let me take this opportunity to thank the principal for giving the pupils this opportunity to talk on this important topic. A man is solely responsible for climate change. Climate change is a current issue, like the principal said, troubling the whole world. You cannot say because you are Israeli, you are not a contributor to climate change. Of course, every day we use our coal pots and coal to cook. You are contributing greenhouse gas. The issue of climate change has to do with the release of excess greenhouse gas, particularly carbon dioxide, into the atmosphere. And this is responsible for causing excessive heat in the globe. And if this continues, in time will come when all of us will melt. So climate change is a dangerous issue. Scientists all over the world are battling with it to find a remedy to it. Now the reason why we decided to bring this topic is to at least educate ourselves on the dangers of this disease, because it's a disease, and what are some of the steps we'll also take. This one will be done by our pupils. Now we have 3 pupils representing the sciences, and we have 3 representing the arts. The sciences are saying that man is solely responsible for climate change, whilst the arts are saying that man is not solely responsible. Now, in order to prove who is right, we'll now begin to call. We are starting with the sciences. In this respect, let me start with Florence Awatimbo, who is going to be the first speaker. She's coming, representing science. She's coming to speak in favor of the motion that man is solely responsible for climate change. Awatimbo, let me invite you now. Put your hands together as your colleague comes up.
The earth provides enough to satisfy every man's need, but not every man's greed. Ladies and gentlemen, honorable judges, esteemed opponents, respected audience, I greet you all. My name is Florence Awatimbo, a pupil of SS2 Science. I'm here to debate on a topic which says that, is man solely responsible for climate change? Which I rise in strong support for the motion that man is solely responsible for climate change. The earth we live in is not collapsing by accident, but it's our factories that pollute the sky, our deforestation that silence the forest, our overconsumption that deplete the earth. This is not nature acting alone. It's man's arm behind the crisis. Before proceeding, I'm led to define some key terms in today's topic. Man, climate change. Man. Man is created and sustained by God. Climate change. Climate change is the change in global or regional climate patterns. Biblically, I'm led to give my points to prove that man is solely responsible for climate change. 1. Industrialization causes fuel. Human activities like burning coal, oil, and gas release carbon dioxide and methane. 2. Agriculture. Livestock farming release large amounts of methane, and the use of nitrogen-based fertilizer produce nitrous oxide. Both are potent greenhouse gases. 3. Population growth. Rapid growth increases energy demand of more cars, more waste, more factories, and more greenhouse gases. Let's look at some scientific evidence that proves that man is solely responsible for climate change. According to IPCC and NASA data shows that over 95% of global warming is caused by human activities. My questions are, if man is not solely responsible for climate change, why is climate change accelerated rapidly after industrial revolution? Are you saying that climate change is more impactful than natural causes in the environment? Ladies and gentlemen, honorable judges and all, I stand not only as a debater, but as a patriotic Sierra Leonean who do believe in section sub.
Thank you very much for making a strong argument. Of course, the toxic gases that are released from our factories, deforestation are all responsible. And these are caused by man. Okay? Mind you, a debate competition is circumscribed by time. So each debater has 2 minutes. No, two. 2 minutes first round. 2 minutes first round, then you will come again to brush up on what you have said. 1 minute, 3 minutes. Mind you, time is of the essence. We are managing time here. Alright? So I will now call Mr. Alaji Koroma from the arts to speak against the motion that man is solely responsible for climate change. Alaji.
Shebe once said, those who spam kindness were cracked for them by benevolent spirits must not forget to humble themselves. Therefore, I show respect to the school authority of giving me this opportunity, like the principal and vice, and also the board members, invited guests, and distinguished ladies and gentlemen. I greet you all with honor. My name is Alaji Koroma. My ultimate purpose of standing in front of you here today is to discuss a special topic which says, is man solely responsible for climate change? However, I'm here to argue against the motion. That is to say, man is not solely responsible for climate change. Mr. Chairman and members of the audience, I would like to broaden your horizon to define the term climate change. According to Wikipedia, climate change is defined as a significant and lasting changes in statistical distributions of weather patterns over periods lasting from decades to millions of years. At this era, I would like to give out my point. Firstly, Mr. Chairman, we can consider the natural climate cycle. As we know, the Earth has undergone climate change for millions of years. Millions of years due to factors like volcanic eruption, solar radiation variations, ocean currents, and ozone layers, which release harmful substances into the atmosphere, making it difficult for humans to survive. In geological factors, even such as tectonic plate movement, can alter the climate change for a long period, affecting distributions of lands, oceans, which in turn influences climate change. Secondly, Mr. Chairman, let's talk about complex interactions. Climate systems are complex and influenced by a multitude of factors, including natural phenomena like El Nino and El Niña, which can lead to the fluctuations in global temperature independent of humans' actions. To support my statement and members of the audience, let's think of historical data. Historical climate data shows period of warming and cooling long before industrialization of modern days.
All right, we want to thank Alaji Koroma for making such brilliant argument. Of course, the argument is that natural phenomenon is also responsible. That it's not only the release of greenhouse gas into the air by man, but even the way God created the world can cause the climate change. All right, we want to call on the second speaker for the foresight, which is science. And it's no less a person but our former head guy, Awanatu Achebe Kamara from the science. He's coming to argue for the motion that man is responsible for climate change. 2 minutes.
We did not borrow the art from our ancestors, but we borrow it from our children. Before I go further, I may like to acknowledge the presence of Mr. Chairman, Board of Directors, Principal, in absence of the proprietors, staff, parents, and my fellow students in the same academic field of struggle. I greet you all. Assalamu alaikum. I am Awanatu Achebe Kamara, and I stand before you also strongly support the notion that man is solely responsible for climate change. Climate change is no longer natural, it is artificial. Therefore, if the earth is burning, it's because man lit the fire. For centuries, our planet has followed natural cycles, but today, the story has changed. Industrialization, deforestation, pollination, and fossil fuel, all led by human greed and carelessness, are eating the earth up at alarming rates. Below are my reasons and why. Firstly, burning of fossil fuel. Man burning of coal, oil, and gases for factories, transport, and electricity release carbon dioxide, which is the main driver of climate change. Secondly, deforestation. Large-scale clearing of forests for farming and urbanization remove Earth's natural absorber. Moreover, scientific consensus Over 97% of climate experts agree that human and natural are primary resource of climate change. Third, conclusively, Mr. Chairman, climate change is no longer natural, it is artificial because
our climate is burning is because man has lit the fire. In other words, it is man who is solely responsible. All right, we now call the second speaker on the part of the arts, Alhaji Fanta S. Kuruma, to come and argue against the motion. Fanta, you only have 2 minutes, be reminded.